The following is brought to you by Vertical Vet. Rethink your GPO.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Veterinary Receptionist Week. I want to give a huge shout out to the veterinary receptionists in the world.
Yes.
You guys make all of the difference. I have
You guys are
the lovely
amazing.
Megan. Yes, but you guys are just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate everything that you do for vet med and the stress
100%.
that you endure, the clients that you endure, the times you guys have had to call the cops. I commend you. You are wonderful. Thank you for making vet med special and a better place. And so because of everything that you do in veterinary medicine, we are here to talk to your practice owners and managers about how to make your veterinary receptionist life easier. And a big part of this came up because we had a guest speaker come on in Platinum, and she said something that just resonated so much with me. And it was, why is it that the person who answers the phone, the very first thing that your client hears, experiences, that touches that client, is one of the least trained people in the practice? Why do we do that?
Why do we do that?
Before we dive in, I of course want to show our coffee mugs. So
Ooh,
mine
I
is
like
the
that
mountains. Well, most of you know that I live in Colorado, but some of you might not. So this is one of my favorites. And then sweet Megan over here is repping her iced coffee.
Y'all, it's an iced coffee kind of day. So I have my Vertical Vet cup, which I love.
How warm is it in North Carolina?
I think it's like going to be 70 today. So
I'm
it's
jealous.
like a nice spring day. We have a nice spring day ahead of us. So I'm
a nice
excited.
day for iced coffee.
Exactly. A nice day for iced
Mhm.
coffee. Well, Angel, I love what you said. And the guest speaker that we had come in really, hit the nail on the head with that. Right. And that is that I think that we all know we need the CSRs at the front desk. We all know that we need those people there, and what they do is hugely important for our practices and can influence the efficiency. It can influence the flow. It can influence a lot of things that happen throughout the day. So why do we feel like we don't have the time to give these guys that are that front line of defense, that front line in our practice, all of the tools, the skills, the training needed to make sure that, one, they truly understand the front desk experience, right? And that they can be that support system to those clients when they're calling, when they're coming into the practice. So how can we make the lives of veterinary receptionists better? Which, if we do that in our practices, it's going to make the flow of our practices better too, right? I mean, that's kind of how this works, right?
Yes. And it's so funny that you say that to me, because so we know most of the time when we hire for reception, it is a server. It's, maybe someone who's looking to get their foot in the door in veterinary medicine and has maybe worked in customer service, but doesn't know anything about the veterinary industry. And we always go like, oh my gosh, you have such a great personality, such a great attitude. I would love to just train you. And then we don't train them and put the time into them.
Right, we give them a handout that says, this is our vaccine protocol. Here, make sure you answer the phone politely, right? Like, that is not enough training. That is not giving these guys the tools that they need to have a successful career, to feel rewarded. It's just not enough. So today, what I really am excited about doing with you, Angel, is kind of knocking out some of these, maybe the top 4 or 5 things that we can do to help support our front desk, to help support the training efforts of our front desk, and maybe talk a little bit about how that training, altering some of the things that we may just, we don't have time for that. If we put time and energy into our front desk team, what that can do for the practice. So one of the things that I really feel is important is making sure that your front desk team understands the policies and protocols of your practice, right? And so this would mean everything from, there is a structure on how they answer the phone, that it's not just a free-for-all of, hey, this is ABC Vet. Hi, this is Sarah at ABC Vet. Hi, this is Sarah at ABC Veterinary Practice, right? Like, all of those things, if we're answering the phone and we're, it's different per person or different per call, then we're not establishing that routine cadence with our clients. And so one of the first things that I like doing is saying, okay, I understand that everyone has their own personality, and that's reflected in how we answer the phone and how we greet clients. But we want to answer our phone in the same way every time. And then be able to have a training manual where, page 1 is, this is how we present ourselves. This is how we answer the phone. This is how we greet clients, right? So it's not just this one page on vaccine protocols, but more of a guideline, if you will, on what we expect our front desk's employees to do. And we have a clear, written out understanding of that position, not just throwing these guys in with the wolves and saying, good luck, Godspeed.
Yes. And what I'm hearing you say this too, role playing with your team on how to answer the phone. Because guys, the thing that you'll realize is you'll see who your strongest team member is, who's got it down, who has the mission statement, who carries that in their tone and really would just capture a client and bring them in. And then now you know who you have to train your team, right? Mm-hmm. You love the way they do it. You love the way they say it, the way they present it. Let them role play with the other team members. Role playing makes everybody uncomfortable. No one has fun doing it initially. It's awkward, right? But it helps because you never know what that client's going to say back. And sometimes I would have one of my receptionists come in and be like, well, I said this to the client, or I said this to someone in the back when they were having like a front back tiff, which I know we'll get into. And it was like, okay, well, I would maybe have worded it this way. And she would be like, how do you change a handful of words in the sentence? And it sounds so much better and more tactful.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to role playing, to training these guys. We can't be upset with our front desk if they didn't answer the call to, the level that you expected as a leader in your practice, as a practice owner, as a practice manager. If we haven't given the time to explain what our expectations are, what our guidelines are, what our policies and protocols are. And I think that that's kind of what sometimes fuels these tiffs that happen between the front and the back, is because, there's this divide, and the back feels like the front has control of the schedule, but the front feels like the back's not efficient enough, and our teams get split. And so one of the ways that we can help that split that happens in some practices is to say, listen, we're all going to go through some of this training. We are all going to have a team meeting where we're going to talk about what our expectations are when we answer the phones, when we greet clients, what our expectations are for how appointments flow, and going into, even more detail with that on being able to call out some of the issues. So the front desk feels like the back is lagging. Well, they don't fully understand what's happening back in the treatment area. The best way to uncover that is to have this kind of cross flow, if you will. And so allowing part of the training that you should have in your practice when you're bringing these CSRs in is having a few days that they're spending in the back in treatment, so they understand all of the things that happen from when the moment a patient checks in to the moment that they check out, right?
Yeah. And I think it breaks that separation between front and back when your receptionists are very well trained, because they're not dropping that blocked cat on the schedule in the middle of a very busy day when they maybe, if whatever your hospital's policy is, whether it's to refer it to the ER or, bring it in as a work-in, they are trained and know what they need to do in that situation. If your hospital is within the capacity to handle it, if you have the team on board. And I think there's less animosity between the front and back, because I feel you approach the situation so much more differently when you're trained on how to have that conversation. And 100%. I want to throw a plug in here that, guys, if you haven't checked out Elevate, our website, you absolutely should, because we have tons of receptionist material in there for you. Like documents you can download and keep on your desktop, the A to Z of a blocked cat, how to do an emergency triage over the phone. Tier training is on there. Those are super important things that not every practice has and is in the process of building. So if you guys are like, have your SOP on the desktop in reception and you have like your A to Z's, we have some in there that you guys can drop in, so that if you have a newer receptionist and someone's not up front, where they can immediately ask, they can pull that up really quick and do a quick A to Z guide of, oh, this is a super emergency. I need to make sure that this is taken care of urgently, or now I know the questions I need to ask And as long as I remain calm on the phone with the client, we can get through this.
Yeah. And they can be used as templates too. So guys, if you're downloading those documents and you're noticing it doesn't quite fit with, maybe the protocol that you have in place, you can alter them so that they fit your practice protocols for sure.
Yes, they're not PDFs. They are definitely Word documents.
Yeah. Like we in vet med, right? I think that, our practices are usually, a little bit on the smaller side, and we work very hard. We have teams that are efficient, but equally we spend lots and lots and lots of time with each other, right? I mean, some of my closest friends that I have to this day are friends that I worked with at my practice. I mean, we would know everything about each other. And so I think that when we are in these close environments, sometimes we can, I guess, get our feelings hurt or get upset with something that's being said, right? Because we're just so used to being around each other. And I think sometimes
more time together.
Happens.
I'm sorry, I so did not mean to cut you off, but I used to say at the clinic all the time, I spend more time with you guys than I do with my spouse. And so we have to get along.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So I think that there's an opportunity here to establish an atmosphere in your practice where there isn't this like divide between departments. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to get to, right? We're trying to get to this positive practice culture. And the way that we do that is by breaking down some of these barriers. And the way that we break down some of those barriers is why we're having this talk today, which is really supporting each department in, specifically, for today's conversation, the receptionist, the front desk, and being able to give them these pieces of training, cross training, letting them see, go into the back, understand what it is, a day in treatment, and vice versa.
Let's get the techs don't always know.
Exactly. Let's get some of the guys that are in the back moving up front and seeing what it is, maybe a couple hours or two up front, so they can understand some of the stresses and the issues that come up at the front desk, right? Because it's constant at our front desk. It's in, it's out, the phones are ringing, we're checking patients out, we're checking patients in, questions are coming up. And so it can be a very stressful time at that front desk. I think as leaders, we also need to recognize that stress level. Reception is not easy. It's not easy.
It's the hardest the hardest position in the practice to me.
Exactly.
Hands down.
Exactly. And so we need to treat our front desk employees like they are that front line of defense for our practice. They are that frontline employee that is seeing the client, their patient at the very first. We need to give them all of the support necessary and treat them with that respect level, right? Yes. That's exactly what we need to do.
Well, it's just, and to me, I just don't understand how this, like, I'm seeing that Veterinary Receptionist Week has become a thing. And it's like, I'm so grateful that that's the change that we are coming to in vet med, where we are seeing that this is an important position that is fulfilling for individuals. My lead receptionist, I always thought like she would move into a PM role. And she was like, I love being the lead receptionist. I don't want to change from this position. I love doing what I do. And it's like, people like that deserve the recognition for the difference that they make in veterinary medicine. And I remember having a technician who was like constantly having a problem with the front. And when we started to cross train and she came up like that day in my office was like, I never want to work reception again. Mm-hmm. She was like, you can put me up there because I want to be part of the team. She was like, but that was harder than I thought. And I cried twice. And she was like, because I'm not used to clients talking to me that way on the phone. She was like, I'm not used to them getting frustrated with me, or because maybe she's like slower than the other receptionists as she learns and stuff. And she was like, I was not prepared for that side of the clients. She's like, usually I see the fun side where they just lie to me in the room and then tell the doctor the truth right in front of my face.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's the kind of stuff I have to deal with. I don't have to deal with someone mad at me because their estimate wasn't as what they thought it would be, or, this or that. And I was like, they deal with a lot. They really do.
And I think as such, with that, one of the things we can do in our practices is create a ladder to the next level, right? And so we're bringing in these individuals to work CSR, to work our front desks, but we need to be able to give them a goal that they want to reach to. We want to keep these employees in our practice, right? We don't want the same turnover, at our front desk. We don't want that turnover. We want consistency. Our clients like consistency. We all know it, right? The first thing they notice is if there's a new receptionist, or, if the receptionist that had been up there for a while isn't there anymore. I mean, clients are the first ones to call that out. So we want to build a structure in our practice where we're retaining these employees, but giving them a ladder to move to the next level. And that's going to be different for every practice, right? It may be that you have entry level positions, and then you move up to a senior receptionist, and then maybe you move up to a lead receptionist, and you can, add in more management related, tasks, if that's kind of the mindset that they're geared towards. Maybe you have one that has a flair for, wanting to help out in the back a little bit as an assistant. And so how do we say and support these individuals and not just be like, no, you need to sit here and answer the phone. Like, I just need you as a receptionist. We need to make sure that they are rewarded in their careers, and that we are giving them the ability to move up through our practice, so that they don't look at other opportunities out there that have that, because everybody wants to grow in their position. Everybody.
Yes. Well, and that brings me to the next topic, Megan, is they want to feel valued. And so are you asking your receptionist team their opinion on your appointment schedule? Are you asking, guys, we're bottlenecking at 4:00. What's going on with that? Why is that taking place? What's happening there? And getting feedback from your receptionist that you're actually taking and using to drive your hospital forward to become more efficient and more productive. Because they know, guys, like I was saying this in a platinum meeting this past week, actually, that a manager and I sat down and were trying to find a problem that they were having in the clinic. And then when she came to reception to talk about it, she said the solution that it took the two of us a solid hour on the phone to go through together. And she said, Angel, in that moment for me, I was humbled as a manager that I can do better, that I can have team buy-in and I can ask my team more questions, and they actually have really great answers. And I was like, I love hearing that from you, because that shows that that in that moment you could have handled that better, that you will in the future ask her for advice to make changes so that you guys are more productive. And now that she pays attention to that stuff. So potential lead recept right there. If she's watching that and she's making sure that things aren't bottlenecking and it should go how it's supposed to go, that's a person that you want to invest your time and effort into in a big way, because they care about your hospital. And that, guys, you cannot pay people to care. Like, truly you can't. And so like when your reception team is coming to you with a problem and a solution at the same time, it's so important that you listen to what they have to say, even if it's not achievable, because sometimes they do come to you with things that it's just not doable, but at least taking the time to explain why, so that they know that you took the time to hear them, take that solution and understand and give them a good, valid reason why it's not something that you guys can implement within practice. And it helps them learn too, right? Because one day they likely will be a PM. And so that gives them perspective on how to manage a business and why it's important that we do things the way that we do. And it's all about growth,
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last thing that I want to land on before we jump off, because I know everyone's days are busy.
Yes.
Days are busy. Is there are continuing education opportunities for CSRs. There's programs available that are, through different, organizations that are vet med specific, but there's also organizations that are not vet med specific that you can send your tech or your front desk team to, that helps build confidence, that helps train on hospitality, that helps train on how to answer the phones and what your personality, how you greet clients. So I highly recommend, and we'll put some in the chat, I think, Angel, when we post this, let's put some of these.
I'll drop some resources in the comments.
Absolutely. Sure. But definitely do a quick search to see what kind of education is available out there, because we can't sit here and, have continuing education for our technicians, have continuing education for our DVMs and associates, have continuing education as a practice manager, have programs for practice owners, and not give the same level of education to our front desk CSRs. So
I agree. 100%.
Highly recommend looking into that. Again, we'll drop some resources in the chat here, but it would be a very valuable experience for them.
And that, I'll drop it in the comments too, but like one thing that Megan said that really made me think of it is conflict resolution. Have you done a course with your receptionist on conflict resolution? Yes. If you do that, most of those client calls are not coming to your desk anymore. Most of the time I would tell my receptionist, if they're angry, go ahead, put them in a room and just come and snag me, or like put them on the phone with me. No big deal. If I'm available, throw me in the ring. But my lead receptionist hated being yelled at. She hated those things. We did a lot of role playing and classes on emotional intelligence. And she was so empowered when a client yelled at her on the phone for the first time and she didn't cry. She was like, I handled it so well, Angel. And I diffused the bomb. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did this by myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge experience for her. She diffused that situation, retained the client, helped the team, you know, worked with the patient, right? So the patient got the care that it needed. I mean, that was a huge win for her.
Yes. And a win in your personal life, because guys, if we cannot conflict resolute at work with people who we do not have like majorly strong emotions towards, doing it in your personal life is super hard. And so like being able to have emotional intelligence in your job as a manager, as a receptionist, technician, owner, veterinarian, technician, whatever, it is so important and so valuable in the way that we talk to our staff, our clients, our management, everybody. Like it really does make a difference. So I'll throw some of those in there too, because there's exercises that you can do with your team that are team building that talk about emotional intelligence. And guys, like nothing will drive your team closer than that. Truly.
Absolutely.
So, I love that we did this.
I did too, right? We're going to have more of these, we're going to have more talks. We're going to have more continuing education on our end that's CSR specific. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be happening this year, just so we can really have kind of that vertical, you know, the being able to help your practice from a vertical level, right? In every department that you have. So more to come on that this year.
Yes.
Happy Veterinary Receptionist Week. You guys are amazing. I feel so blessed to have worked with some of the most amazing CSRs out there in my practices. So
in this world,
I hope you get spoiled this week and you get all of the things. And please reach out to anybody on the Vertical Vet team, Angel, myself, any of our colleagues. We are happy to help with any questions that you have.
Yes, absolutely. So please, guys, and also shout out to your team in the comments too, if you want to tag them, whatever. Vertical Vet will respond and give them a shout out too. We would love to do that. Also, if you guys don't know, this week, if you submit your receptionist, we will feature them in our story. So it doesn't have to just be the team. It can be someone on the team who's really fabulous, your lead receptionist, whatever, but they will be featured in the story if you submit them so that they will have a moment to shine and for them to be showcased for all of the hard work that they do. So please take advantage of that, because I would love to see them in the story. And thanks guys for listening and tuning in to now our 4th coffee talk of the year. I am so happy about it. And I can't wait to see how you guys spoil your receptionists this week.
It's going to be awesome. Everyone take care. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.
See ya.